Hello and welcome aboard. The carriage is warm and the rain has begun its soft rhythm against the window. Our journey through the quiet of the night is ready to begin. Find your comfortable place to rest. Settle in and let the steady sound of the rails carry you away from the noise of the day. There is nothing else you need to do now. Just breathe and let the story unfold. Night settles over the carriage like a quilt of quiet velvet, though the lamp above my seat whispers a muted amber glow. Outside, rain traces thin silver trails across the glass, stitching horizon to horizon with patient, almost tender, threads. The train hums beneath me, a low and steady heartbeat that promises we will not break the night, only glide. We pass a lonely crossing where a single bulb swings in the wind, its reflection wavering like a thought half remembered. I close my eyes for a breath and feel the gentle shiver of tracks threading underneath, sewing past to present in quiet beats. Somewhere 2 rows ahead a traveler cradles a folded map, though the lines have blurred, softened by time and maybe by hope. I wonder where the map once guided him, what laughter it heard, what endings it quietly witnessed from a shirt pocket. The window fogs with each slow exhale, a small cloud drifting until I draw a finger through it, making a clear lane. On the other side, fields lie hushed under mist, their boundaries dissolving so that grass becomes sky and sky becomes dream. I think of morning light somewhere far behind us, gently pouring into kitchens we left hours ago, touching cups left half full. Time stretches on rails, elastic yet certain, always pulling, never snapping, weaving our fleeting moments into its unbroken ribbon. I remember sitting by a river once, counting ripples as though numbers could anchor me, until I learned even numbers wander. The river from that afternoon feels close tonight, hiding beneath the darkness outside, mirroring the train's glow in restless fragments. A soft snore drifts from the seat behind, rising and falling like a small tide, comforting in its ordinary cadence. The sleeper's head leans against the window, droplets collecting at the edge of his reflection, beating along the shape of a dream. I wonder if he travels toward a reunion or away from one, and whether, in sleep, the 2 directions meet somewhere gentle. The wheels sing a lullaby in iron and rainwater, each note softening at the edges, dissolving like sugar in warm tea. My own memories follow these notes, drifting lazily, no longer sharp, content to blur into one another the way distant lights merge. Once, on a different train, a woman offered me a tangerine, the scent bright and alive against that winter night's chill. She peeled it carefully, separating segments as if turning pages, and I remember thinking stories might be hidden under every rind. Tonight I taste that tangerine again, though only in memory, bright against the muted palette of rain and rustling cloth. Stations appear, small islands of sodium light, then drift away before the train slows, like thoughts we acknowledge yet choose not to keep. A solitary conductor steps onto the platform, checks his watch, checks the rain, and fades behind the closing doors with practiced grace. I think about rituals, checking, waiting, departing, and how they tether us to certainty, even when our hearts drift elsewhere. The train breathes a deeper hush as miles unfurl, the hum softening, paragraphs of sound becoming single syllables, then a kind of silence. In that near silence I notice my pulse aligning with the sway, each beat slowing, as though the body knows a bedtime tale is coming. I speak to myself softly, inside, promising that tomorrow will be gentle, that unfinished tasks will wait like letters placed neatly on a desk. The promise feels enough for now, a quilt bigger than worry, sewn with quiet assurances and a faint scent of rain-washed fields. Beyond the glass, trees line the horizon like blurred brushstrokes, bending gently, as if they too understand the art of yielding to wind. I recall advice from an old friend: hold plans lightly the way dusk holds light, ready to release it when the moon asks. Rain strengthens for a moment, drumming a steadier rhythm, but the carriage answers with softer vibrations, like 2 voices agreeing to whisper. Somewhere in that duet I imagine a small cottage by these tracks, a lamp left burning, someone lifting a curtain to watch us pass. Perhaps they wave, not out of greeting but because waving makes distance feel kind, and kindness is easier than wondering who travels inside. I carry that imagined wave like a small ember, letting it warm stray regrets. Letters unsent, goodbyes postponed, promises I reshaped into silence. Yet even regrets soften on nights like this. They lie down beside the steady rails and listen, finally willing to rest without resolution. The carriage lights dim a fraction more, shadows blending until edges blur, and the whole space feels like a shared exhale. My thoughts slow to match that exhale, drifting in wider circles, no longer eager to land, content merely to glide over still water. If dreams are stations, I tell myself, let the train stop everywhere tonight. Let the doors open to fields of rest and quiet welcome. Somewhere beyond the next curve lies my destination, but arrival feels gentle, secondary. What matters is this sheltered movement, this lull between places. So I lean back, let the seat cradle my shoulders, and watch droplets race each other down the pane until vision turns to hush. The hum lowers once more, sentences shrinking to words, words dissolving to breath, and breath settling into the soft grammar of sleep. The carriage rocks with the gentle confidence of a lullaby. Outside, velvet stretches of countryside breathe beneath a pale, wandering mist. Rain taps a measured rhythm on the window, each drop a tiny percussionist. The sound blends into the low burr of steel wheels, rounding every sharp thought. I settle deeper into my seat, coat collar turned up like a small wall against the chill. A single reading lamp halos my knees with muted amber, enough light to think by, never enough to startle. The aisle lies mostly empty, night journeys invite privacy, and echoing freedom to drift. Across the way, a young woman sleeps with a paperback face down on her lap, its pages half open like a sigh. Her headphones slip from one ear, letting faint music spill into the carriage, soft piano chords, barely there, soothing as distant surf. I wonder what story she was reading before dreams claimed her, what endings her mind will invent while she sleeps. The train slows for a moment, easing through an unnamed siding, the platform only a strip of damp concrete. No one boards, no one waves. The empty station lamp wobbles in the rain, a candle left for wanderers who never arrive. I think of places that exist mainly as pauses, bus stops, rest areas, the space between two heartbeats when we change our minds. Life is knotted with those pauses, moments where time thins and we notice the quiet anatomy of choice. We accelerate again, almost shyly, as though apologizing for stirring the dark. Fields unspool beyond the glass, ink-washed silhouettes of hedgerows, a scattering of sheep dozing under bowed trees. Their shapes blur, merge, dissolve like memories retold too many times. I recall a summer evening long ago when I counted fireflies near a lake, each glow a silent promise that youth could last forever. That lake feels as distant as the moon tonight, yet the memory flickers the same warm gold. The train curves and a cluster of cottage lights appears on a distant hill, hanging in the fog like a constellation that forgot the sky. Somewhere in those lights, maybe a kettle whistles, someone writing a letter they will later tuck into a drawer. I picture them pausing, glancing at these passing carriages, wondering who rides inside, never suspecting their quiet life is part of my midnight reverie. We slide through a narrow cutting, wet stone walls just beyond arm's reach. Waterfalls of runoff spill in slow ribbons, catching the carriage lights before vanishing into darkness below. The air in here smells faintly of wool, paper, and damp earth carried in on boots. A man 2 seats ahead has balanced a sketchbook on his knees. Graphite stains his fingertips. He isn't drawing now. He gazes, unblinking, into the night as though waiting for the landscape to finish his picture by itself. I imagine his pages filled with stations, umbrellas, briefcases clasped like secrets, the tender architecture of strangers in motion. Sometimes I wish I could sketch a map of everything unsaid between people, each unspoken word a delicate line connecting 2 hesitant hearts. Perhaps the map would be beautiful, a lattice of near confessions twinkling like frost on power lines. The rain softens, then fades to a hush, the way applause eventually quiets after a gentle encore. With the rain gone, the track noise becomes clearer, a slower, deeper rumble, like a large cat purring in its sleep. My eyelids grow heavy, but thoughts keep drifting in slow spirals, reluctant to dock. I think about time again, how it feels both infinite and painfully narrow, a corridor narrowing behind each step. Yet tonight, time loosens, stretches to fit the length of the carriage, lets me wander without hurry. We pull alongside a river, its surface reflecting our windows, a string of liquid lanterns gliding in parallel. The water carries tiny ripples of light downstream, messenger boats ferrying stories to towns that dream with open shutters. Once, on another journey, a stranger told me rivers collect hopes the way pockets collect lint, quiet evidence of wear and wandering. I smiled then, unsure. Tonight I understand. The river outside seems swollen with patient, weightless hopes. The sleeper across from me stirs, murmurs a name I do not recognize, then grows still again. Names have heft, even whispered in sleep. They anchor us to others, keep us from drifting too far from ourselves. I roll the name silently on my tongue, a seashell sound, and release it to the dark. We pass under a stone archway. For a heartbeat the world narrows to tunnel walls and dim light, a gentle hush. Emerging, the fields have changed. Frost rims the grass, tiny sparks of silver under moon-pale clouds. Winter is waiting ahead, but its touch is tender tonight, like a friend reaching for your glove, not snatching it away. I think of messages I meant to send before boarding, small apologies, simple check-ins, reminders that someone matters. Night travel forgives these delays. In the dark, intentions feel alive, ready to wake with me at morning's first signal. The engines idle lower, the rhythm of the wheels slows, each clack spaced wider, like punctuation stretching toward a final period. We approach a second flickering station, lamps haloed by mist, benches slick with rain. A lone passenger rises near the door, scarf tucked tight, suitcase wheels hushing across the floor. I watch them disembark, stepping into the mild drizzle with a purposeful serenity, as though night itself were a familiar corridor leading home. The doors sigh closed, and the train gathers itself once more, quieter, emptier, easier to hold in a single breath. In this new silence, my thoughts thin further, sentences shortening, words smoothing to vowels, vowels drifting to rests. Outside, hedgerows give way to open moor, a dark sea of grass where moonlight pools in delicate hollows. I imagine lying there at dawn, dew on my sleeves, clouds tinted peach, the train a distant memory humming over the horizon. The idea feels soft enough to sleep on, so I tuck it between heartbeat and pillow of breath. Rain begins again, but lightly, as if sky and earth are whispering goodnight to each other. My own whisper answers, promising to remember this gentleness when daylight asks harder questions. The carriage lights dim to their lowest glow, reflections fade, leaving only silhouettes, shapes easing into dream. I lean back, let the rhythm cradle what remains of wakefulness. Somewhere ahead, another station waits, but for now there is only the hush of rails, the silver murmur of rain, and the vast, forgiving quiet between two flickering lamps. The carriage settles into a hush that feels older than night itself. Rain nestles against the windows, a thousand gentle fingertips smoothing away the day's remaining creases. Every few moments the wheels sigh across a joint in the rails, punctuation in an otherwise endless sentence. I draw the curtain halfway, leaving a ribbon of glass clear, a narrow hallway into darkness. Beyond it, fields drift by in muted charcoal, their edges softened by mist the color of sleep. Sheep huddle in pale clusters, hardly shapes at all, more like ideas of comfort etched in vapor. A dim reflection hangs beside the view, my face ghosted in the glass, eyes bright then fading with each flicker of light. Somewhere behind me, a child murmurs, the word mama stretching into a drowsy hum, then folding back into silence. Her mother strokes soft hair, her hand moving with the patience of tides that have never once hurried. I listen to that rhythm, thinking of lullabies I no longer remember, except for how they made everything slow. The conductor drifts through, footsteps measured, coat swaying like a dark metronome. He nods but does not speak. Tickets rustle, a small ritual, and then he is gone, absorbed into the aisle's quiet dusk. We pass a cluster of signal lights blinking crimson and gold, a modest constellation arranged just for us. Their glow slides across the cabin walls, painting traveling halos that dissolve before anyone fully notices. I imagine the lights have names, ordinary yet proud: Beacon, Solace, Return. keeping watch for travelers who need encouragement. We trace a long curve and a river joins us, glimmering like spilled mercury beneath shy starlight. Its mirrored surface carries our reflection in trembling fragments, as though rehearsing dreams before we claim them. I remember another river years ago where I tossed a pebble and wished time would pause mid-ripple. Of course it didn't, but the wish lingers tonight, patient, unbothered by the lapse. A man across the aisle adjusts his scarf, notebook balanced on his knee, pen idle yet hopeful. He studies the dark outside as though it holds a sentence he has been chasing for seasons. Perhaps he writes letters he never sends, secrets intended only for the gentle counsel of motion. I find comfort in that, a shared belief that forward movement can untangle what daylight knots. The train slows, almost reluctant, into a rural station lit by 2 amber globes. No one waits and no one departs. Still, the doors sigh open as if greeting the night itself. Cold air wanders in, smelling of wet cedar and far-off wood smoke, a perfume of unmarked villages. For a heartbeat I picture stepping onto the platform, letting the train leave without me, accepting the quiet invitation. Yet I remain content with imagining the possibility rather than living its consequence. The doors close, the engine hums, and we slip onward, the station lamp shrinking like a fading thought. My breathing slows to match the locomotive's measured pulse, 2 steady instruments in a delicate duet. High above, clouds part just long enough for a fragment of moon to peer through, curious but unintrusive. Its pale coin glints off puddles beside the track, each flash a wink that says keep going, you're nearly dreaming. I lean my head against the seat, sensing the faint vibration migrate through bone and memory alike. Memories arrive unannounced, a dusty attic, the smell of old books, laughter echoing off slanted beams. Someone once told me attics store echoes more faithfully than basements. Tonight I believe them. The child behind me shifts again, small shoes tapping a rhythm too soft to disturb. Her mother hums a tune without words, and the hum settles over everything like falling snow. Snow. There was a winter when flakes fell so thick the world lost its outlines for a day. I walked until my footprints vanished behind me, relieved to be briefly untraceable. Out the window, the landscape hints at that same erasure. Fences blur, hedgerows fade, only softness remains. We cross a small bridge, and the river beneath offers a gentle roar, a reminder of deeper currents. Its voice mingles with the wheel's song, water and metal composing an unhurried lullaby. The notebook writer finally lifts his pen, scribbles, pauses, smiles. Whatever sentence he needed has arrived. I savor his quiet triumph as though it were mine, proof that answers can travel by rail too. The lamp above me flickers once, settling into a lower, kinder glow, as if dimming the day's final encore. Thoughts drift toward people I miss, names I don't speak aloud for fear of waking longing. Yet in this half-light, longing itself softens, becomes a blanket rather than a thorn. Regret approaches as well, but its edges are rounded, each sharp memory wrapped in gauze of acceptance. The train begins a gentle descent, brakes murmuring, not scolding, guiding us through a shallow valley. Outside, a farmhouse stands with a single upstairs light burning. Someone reading, maybe, or waiting for footsteps that will not arrive until morning. I send them a silent greeting, hoping it reaches through glass and weather to settle on their windowsill. The rain, intermittent now, taps a quieter rhythm, like fingertips testing a piano's keys before a lullaby. I count the taps until counting feels beside the point and numbers drift off, content to nap. Breath grows deeper. Sentences in my mind shorten, vowels elongating into muted yawns. A final small station appears, its sign half-lit, letters smudged by drizzle. Hallowmere or maybe Hallowmore, either way comforting. We do not stop. We simply glide past, yet I tuck the name away, a secret address for future dreams. The world beyond becomes abstract. Smudges of ash blue, hints of silver, faint brushstrokes of horizon. Inside, the carriage is a cocoon, stitched from wool coats, whispered pages, and the unwavering promise of forward motion. I close my eyes long enough to watch colors bloom behind lids, indigo blossoming into soft coral, then fading to calm gray. Pulse, engine, rain. 3 instruments now playing the same diminuendo, coaxing consciousness to loosen its grip. Thoughts thin to filament, filament dissolves to hush, hush folds into the wide pocket of sleep. While somewhere ahead, another quiet field awaits our passing, ready to offer its breath to the night. Rain keeps its patient rhythm, stitching slow arcs along the glass. The window shivers with every tap as though collecting quiet applause. Between each drop, the countryside floats past in blotted charcoal blurs. Hills melt into hedgerows, hedgerows slip into fields, and fields surrender to mist. The train carries it all, humming like a soft-spoken contralto, unwilling to raise its voice. I sit near the carriage door, wrapped in a blanket too thin to matter, yet comforting. A faint smell of wool and dust mingles with the sharper scent of wet steel. Lamplight settles on my page like warm honey, but the notebook stays blank. Words feel unnecessary tonight. Silence seems eloquent enough. Across the aisle, a man folds origami cranes from ticket stubs. His hands move slowly, deliberately, as if time were pliable paper eager to crease. He places each finished bird on the seat beside him, wings spread in patient anticipation. They remind me of thoughts waiting to be released, fragile, feather-light, ready to drift. A young couple sits 2 rows ahead, their heads resting together, breaths synchronized. They look like mirrored commas in an unfinished sentence, pausing before a future they can't yet see. The woman's scarf is woven in muted blues. It catches the overhead glow and reflects it like water. From somewhere near the back, a soft chuckle rises, then dissolves, polite enough not to echo. Every sound here respects the quiet as though tutored in hush. The wheels click over a track joint, a subdued metronome guiding each thought to slower measures. Outside, a stone bridge appears, mouth gaping, then swallows us whole. Within the tunnel, the rain stops. Only the train's heartbeat remains. Dark walls rush past, close enough to touch fears, yet none appear. A single light flickers overhead, then steadies as if reminded of its duty to soothe. We emerge, and the rain resumes, gentler than before, like applause returning for an encore. I watch droplets race, choose favorites, cheer silently when my chosen bead wins the slide. It's a small game, enough to keep wakefulness at bay without stirring real effort. Memory drifts forward. My grandfather's greenhouse, glass panes beaded with morning condensation. He taught me patience there, how seeds know more about time than clocks do. Tonight the train feels like that greenhouse, humid with unspoken yes, nurturing everything unsown. The origami man finishes another crane, presses its wings with reverence, and nods toward me. I return the nod, feeling oddly blessed, as though granted membership in his silent flock. He leaves one crane on the narrow table between us, its paper white against the dark veneer. I trace the delicate wings with my eyes, resisting the urge to touch, fearing the slight crinkle might wake someone. Beyond the window, a cluster of sheep gather under a solitary oak. Their wool gleams in moonlit pockets between passing clouds, small lanterns grazing. I imagine they dream of open gates and fields unmapped. The train slides into a shallow cutting, rainwater cascading in thin sheets down mossy walls. The sound changes, becoming more cavernous, like standing beneath a waterfall's gentle cousin. My heartbeat matches the new tempo, slower still, a stone settling deeper into riverbed sand. A distant signal light blinks red, then amber, then softly green, granting us passage into more night. The carriage responds with a low, grateful purr, as if thanking the universe for permission to continue. In that gratitude I sense my own, a quiet acknowledgement of safe motion, of being carried without demand. The couple ahead stirs. The woman rubs her eyes, then smiles at nothing in particular. The man kisses her forehead, a gesture so swift it might have been imagined. Moments later, both are asleep again, lost in a dream stitched from the same gentle fabric. The paper crane between us tilts slightly with each turn, bowing to invisible applause. I wonder how many miles it will travel before someone pockets it, or before dawn unravels its folds. The thought makes me smile. Even paper can be a pilgrim. We pass an abandoned platform, ivy reclaiming benches, timetable faded to ghostly smudges. A single lamp still burns, steadfast, like a lighthouse that forgot the sea receded years ago. For a heartbeat I want to step off, rescue that lamp from its lonely assignment. But the train does not pause. Mercy sometimes looks like staying seated. Rain thickens, drumming louder, but the sound is broad, soothing, never sharp. It mutes stray worries, sanding their edges until they're no more than rounded pebbles. I close my eyes and picture them settling at the bottom of a quiet pond. Now each breath feels deeper, each exhale a subtle release of ballast. The origami man leans back, eyes closed, hands finally still. Cranes guard his dreams, small sentinels fashioned from tiny journeys. My own reflection hovers in the glass, face softening into haze. Even mirrors grow tired. We approach another station, Greylark. The sign says, lamps haloed by fog. A lone gardener stands beneath an umbrella, holding a potted fern as though it were a newborn. He steps aboard, nods to no one in particular, then seats himself across from the sleeping couple. The fern drips quietly onto the floor, adding its own rhythm to rain and rail. I inhale the green scent, a memory of forests after storms, then let it fade. The doors close and Greylark drifts backward, becoming just another syllable lost to night. Inside, everything slows again. Words lengthen, vowels stretch, consonants soften to cotton. Thoughts scatter like dandelion seeds, searching for soft soil. I surrender notebook and pen to the small table, let fingers uncurl. The crane watches, content that I too have chosen rest over record. Somewhere ahead, dawn waits, but she is in no hurry. She knows trains, like hearts, must slow before arriving. Rain eases to mist, mist thins to hush, hush opens to dream. In that widening silence, I fold inward gently, a passenger made of paper, light enough to float. Night deepens as the train glides past blank fields. Rain threads along the roof, weaving silver quiet. The window beside me is a cool mirror reflecting soft lamplight. I draw nothing on the fog glass, just tracing thought. Outside, hedgerows blur like charcoal on dark canvas. The wheels hum a low chant, vowels stretched into sighs. A calm drifting settles into my bones. A few seats ahead, an elderly man folds his coat like origami. He tucks it beneath his head and closes his eyes, unbothered. His shoes, polished but scuffed, angle toward each other politely. I imagine him dreaming of tidy gardens and faint music. The train slows, passing a siding stacked with old freight cars. Rust glistens under drizzle. Stenciled numbers look like coded wishes. Factories sleep. Workers rest. Still, the wishes keep traveling. We pick up speed, rails clicking out a softened rhythm. Above me, a violin case wrapped in green twine rests. Its owner, a woman in a wool beret, reads an old postcard. The edge is frayed, but she smooths it gently. Maybe the message says only, "I miss you. Play often." She smiles once, then presses the card to her chest. Perhaps she carries entire concerts inside her lungs. Rain thickens, now brushing the train like fingertips. My heartbeat slows to match it. We pass a misty field where horses graze like pale ghosts. One foal stands apart, lifting its nose into the storm. The sight softens something in me. A red and white crossing flashes ahead, guarding empty tracks. No cars pass, but the arm bows anyway. That comforts me. The lights flicker, then settle into a honeyed dimness. Shadows stretch kindly, softening every edge. Behind me, two friends whisper about uneaten sandwiches. They laugh about midnight picnics between nameless stops. Their laughter rises, then fades into a smiling hush. The scent of rosemary bread drifts down the aisle. I think of kitchens lit by fridge light and clinking glasses. Those memories feel generous, small warmths for quiet travelers. We ease past a river, its surface rippling like black silk. Far-off lamps throw trembling amber ladders across water. Each raindrop breaks the reflection, then it rebuilds. The violinist rises and opens her case just a little. A note hums out, soft, clean, sweeter than lullabies. She closes the lid, satisfied. The note lingers like perfume. Someone sighs, blessed by its single breath. The train enters a cutting, sound deepening into velvet echo. My thoughts echo too gentler now. I remember climbing an old lighthouse, spiraling into salt air. Waves pounded below, but the lantern room was still. Tonight feels like that, glass shielding us from the roar. Outside, wind bends trees in slow bows. They rise unbroken. I take hope from that, the art of yielding, not breaking. The old man stirs, checks his watch, and smiles. Time has given him permission to sleep. We pass a small station, Hawthorne Glebe. No one waits. Still, the lights glow, guardians of possibility. I picture a boy once standing there, suitcase larger than his dreams. Maybe he's riding tonight, taller now, heart still outbound. A draft sneaks under the door, smelling of rain and chimney smoke. I pull my coat tighter, savoring the brief edge of cold. Soon warmth returns with the rhythm. My notebook lies open on my lap, still blank. I'll fill it later. Silence is writing its own story now. The violinist hums a quiet melody, nearly asleep. The tune drifts on, conductorless. Across the aisle, a boy sketches constellations on his phone. He compares them to the sky outside, clouded but full of faith. Faith, I think, is drawing stars we can't yet see. The brakes whisper as we slow again. Two rabbits pause in headlight glow, then vanish. Their exit feels like a curtain falling, gentle, unstartling. Wheels resume their breath-like cadence. My own breath matches. Long, slow, easy. Thoughts loosen. They drift like dandelion seeds. Some carry soft memories. Lemonade, binoculars, a seaside pier. Even regrets feel light tonight, no heavier than feathers. Moonlight brushes my seat arm, then slips away. Nothing insists on permanence here. And yet, everything feels like company. I recall those rusted freight cars, wishes in transit. Maybe the train carries them all. Maybe mine is among them. We climb gently, the engine coaxes, not pushes. Another lonely farm appears. Windows glow like embers. A dog watches from the porch, still and sure. I envy its steadiness, but then smile. Home can ride inside us too. The violinist sleeps now, cheek to folded hands. Her postcard peeks from her pocket, dreaming secondhand. The boy lowers his phone. His eyelids dip. The old man smiles in sleep, perhaps still dancing. Wishes settle like snow, melting into breath and linen headrests. My eyes grow heavy. Paragraphs shorten into commas. Rain softens to mist. Mist fades to hush. The train's chant thins to silence, not quite, but almost. I close the notebook. Thank it for waiting. Outside, hedgerows fade into the night's wide arms. Inside, we carry invisible cargo. Postcards, lullabies, stars half drawn. All rocked gently by wheels rolling slower, slower, until thoughts fold and wishes sleep. The train sighs through the dark like a distant, unhurried tide. Rain, faithful companion, patters upon the roof in measured syllables of silver. My window gathers beads of water, tiny lanterns trembling with each subtle sway. Beyond the glass, pastures shimmer, half-formed shadows stitched to a deeper night. Every fence post passes like a slow heartbeat, steady, deliberate, patient. Inside, the carriage carries a hush that settles over shoulders like wool. The overhead lamp glows warm amber, inviting eyelids to lower without shame. A soft fragrance of damp coats, paper, and faint cologne lingers in the aisle. 2 seats ahead, a teenager doodles on a postcard, sketching clouds that smile. He pauses, taps his pen, and adds a balloon drifting toward an invisible sunrise. Beside him, his grandmother dozes, chin tucked, hands folded atop a small sewing kit. Thread and needle clink gently whenever the carriage rocks over uneven rail. I picture her mending dreams in sleep, stitching loose ends into softer seams. Across from me, a businessman loosens his tie, exhales as though uncaging a bird. In his lap rests a faded photograph, 3 children in rubber boots, laughing. He strokes the edge of the picture, and the tension in his shoulders unwinds. Perhaps he travels homeward, or perhaps toward apology. Either way, the train forgives. We enter a stretch of birch forest, trunks pale and tall, ghostly parchment. Their branches glisten under rain, tiny prisms catching the faintest spill of light. A curve tilts the world, droplets slide downward in playful, lingering races. I choose one beat to follow until it disappears into the window's lower shadow. Small games hold the mind gently, the way clouds cradle a timid moon. The wheels find a joint in the rails, click-clack, slower with each mile. That rhythm sinks into my ribs, convincing my heartbeat to soften its drum. In the rear carriage, someone turns a newspaper page with utmost care. The paper rustles, then rests, news reduced to mulch in the soil of night. A conductor walks the aisle, shoes scuffing softly, coat brushing seat backs. He nods at half-sleeping faces, his smile brief but sincerely offered. When he checks my ticket, our fingers almost touch. Warmth passes like a brief spark. No words are needed. His presence simply certifies our shared safe passage. Low hills roll outside, half hidden by veils of drifting mist. Street lamps from a distant road shimmer, then vanish like lanterns lowered underwater. A memory surfaces, childhood road trips, forehead pressed to glass, counting power poles. I recall believing the world was endless, every mile a secret unfurling. Tonight that same wonder returns, softened, seasoned with quiet gratitude. The grandmother stirs, opens one eye, smiles at her grandson's sketch. She whispers something, maybe lovely, maybe practical, and drifts back to rest. He tucks the postcard into a book titled Journeys of Gentle Hours. I tuck that title into my thoughts, a phrase worth revisiting in dream. Rain eases, thinning to a hush, the roof now murmuring instead of singing. The tracks stretch straighter, and the cadence of wheels lengthens, more spacious, slower. A small station appears, Ashwell Cross, lampposts glowing like shy candles. We glide through without stopping, yet the platform cat watches us pass. Its tail flicks, unimpressed yet somehow reassuring, guardian of abandoned benches. I imagine the cat greeting every train, counting carriages instead of sheep. The businessman closes his eyes. The photograph slips under his jacket like a secret. His breathing deepens, shoulders finally surrendering to the plush of the seat. I wish him peaceful reconciliation, whatever form it chooses at journey's end. Moonlight pierces a tear in the clouds, spills over flooded meadows. Water mirrors the sky so perfectly that stars appear beneath the tracks. For an instant, the train seems to coast across constellations, quiet and content. I remind myself to remember this, though memory itself is often a gentle liar. Another curve, gentler still, nudges the carriage into a slower rocking cradle. The lamplight above dims a fraction, golden turning to soft honey. Words in my head grow longer, vowels unspool, consonants lose their edges. Breath falls into the gap between sentences, wide, warm, and forgiving. Somewhere far ahead, an engine bell rings once, low and distant. Its note hangs in the air, then folds into the hush like silk. The teenager yawns, stretches, leans against his grandmother's shoulder. Her hand moves automatically, resting atop his hair, memory older than thought. A kindness so ordinary it could lull any stray worry to sleep. Outside, the birch forest gives way to open heath. Horizons widen, sighing. Mist drifts upward, loosening from earth as though deciding to float forever. I feel my own thoughts lift in sympathy, lighter, less burdened by gravity. The conductor returns, dimming overhead lights row by row. Each bulb softens to a glow no brighter than a sheltered firefly. I watch darkness bloom, petal by petal, until only silhouettes remain. The wheels hush further, a long shushing lullaby, maternal and unending. I close my eyes, let scenery fade, but keep the rhythm tucked inside. In that inner dark, images bloom. Paper cranes soaring, cats counting trains, stars beneath rails. Every fragment drifts, gentle as feathers, toward the wide river of sleep. Thoughts slow to single words, words soften to vowels, vowels melt into breath. Breath settles, the train hum dwindles, rain recedes to faint memory. One final click of track, a last small sway, then everything rests quiet. Echoes fade, replaced by silence as deep as velvet water. The corridor of rain closes behind us, and dreams open their doors ahead. Rain combs the roof in even strokes, a soft bristled brush on tin. The The train hums beneath me, steady, sure, like a lullaby it has practiced for years. Outside, darkness carries faint embers of farm lamps, each one briefly blooming, then sliding away unseen. I lean against the cool glass, cheek pillowed by the subtle tremor of speed. Droplets merge and separate, performing unhurried dances that lull stray thoughts into quiet obedience. At the far end of the carriage, a young man whispers into his phone, voice low, gentle, unhurried. He says, "I'll be there by dawn," then pauses, listening, smiling at words I cannot hear. When he pockets the device, relief settles across his face like warm dusk, contentment stitched into eyelids already drooping. A book tumbles from his lap, and he leaves it where it falls, unafraid of lost pages. Its title, Atlas of Small Resurrections, glints briefly under the aisle light before shadow claims it. I think of the word resurrection, how it can belong to mornings as well as mystic hymns. Within these walls, each mile resurrects a memory, carries it lightly, then sets it down without ceremony. Across from me, an elderly woman strokes a thin envelope, its seal unbroken. She turns it over again and again as though warmth alone might reveal hidden ink. Perhaps she is waiting for courage, or perhaps patience is the message itself. A faint perfume, lavender and rain-soaked parchment, floats around her like a hush. We cross a viaduct. Water far below flashes silver under distant town lights. The bridge seems to float in wet velvet, pillars dissolving into mist that knows how to keep secrets. I feel the height in my stomach, the slight lift as steel yields to open air. Then rails meet ground again, a comforting return, a promise that drifting has limits. The conductor appears, moving slowly as though each step respects someone's dream. His lantern-sized torch paints soft circles on luggage racks, confirming nothing is out of place. When he passes me, I catch a glimpse of a badge shaped like a feather, silver, worn smooth at the edges. I imagine it once shone bright, polished by ambition. Tonight it glows softly, tempered by kindness learnt in miles. He disappears, door clicking shut, leaving the corridor narrower but somehow safer. In the overhead shelf above my seat rests a small cedar box. Inside, 3 seashells, a ticket stub to a summer fair, and a note that reads simply, "Keep going." I packed them in haste earlier, uncertain why these objects mattered. Now their quiet presence feels like testimony. The rain slackens, each drop now a spaced heartbeat, echoing across the car roof like slow applause. We slip by an unlit siding where forgotten freight wagons sleep beneath ivy blankets. Their rusted couplings sigh as we pass, metal remembering long ago journeys with sentimental ache. A sudden curve draws the carriage into a gentle lean, giving every sleeper a fleeting embrace. The envelope lady smiles at the tilt, as if the train itself wished her good night. She finally tucks the letter into her coat pocket, perhaps trusting that answers bloom best in sleep. A teenage girl 2 rows back sketches constellations on condensation, fingertip tracing Orion into fog. The outlines fade almost instantly, but she keeps drawing, content with impermanence. I think of missions we set ourselves. Trace stars on glass, fold cranes from tickets, whisper promises to distant ears. None lasts, yet each soft act burns long enough to warm the next moment. Outside, we rush past grazing land, paddocks pooled with dark water that mirror stray headlights from unseen roads. Those glimmers skate across puddles, then disappear, leaving ripples that feel suspiciously like thoughts. I close my lids a moment, listen. Engine murmur will hush, distant kettle whistle from some farmhouse kitchen. Through half-dream, I picture someone pouring tea, pausing mid-sip as our train hum passes through their walls. Perhaps they wonder where we are headed. Perhaps they know that curiosity rambles best at night. We glide into a shallow cutting lined with sandstone. Rainwater slips in thin sheets, shimmering curtains parting for our slow-moving stage. Inside, the light dims further, amber thinning to honey, then pale straw. Words inside my head lengthen, vowels stretching like cats after a warm nap. Regret wanders in, tries to pull up a chair, but finds no purchase on the smooth quiet. Hope sits instead, cross-legged, humming a tune that aligns with the axle rhythm below. The young man stirs, half waking, retrieves his fallen book and holds it against his chest like a small shield. He murmurs a single word, maybe a name, maybe forgive, and drifts back beneath gentle waves of motion. I file the sound away, a pebble in pocket, pleasant to touch later. The train slows, not stopping, only loosening its pace as we skirt another village. Street lamps glow butter-soft behind lace curtains of rain, houses crouched under sleep's tender blanket. A dog trots along a lane, tail wagging at nothing but night, companion to his own shadow. I envy that trust, knowing the path, content with darkness, certain dawn will reward patience. The envelope lady dozes now, head bobbing. The letter's edge peaks like a shy moon. Some choices can wait till morning, others resolve themselves in dream. The teenage artist yawns, fog on the window cleared by her breath. New canvas awaits. I watch her start a fresh constellation, slower this time, each star a deliberate tap. Mist thickens outside, swallowing fields, offering only suggestion where once lay detail. Yet detail feels unnecessary. The mood itself carries enough weight to cradle us. Lamp flickers, steadies, flickers again as though coaxing me to follow its drowsy cadence. I comply, inhaling the damp wool scent of my own coat, the faint cedar drift from the overhead box. These smells need tension from shoulders, meal time into pliant silence. Ahead, a bell rings twice, the softest warning, like wind chimes brushed by a careful hand. We cross another junction, points clicking beneath, guiding us onto fresher track, smoother still. The world rocks me gently, cradle within cradle, sound within sound. Thoughts dissolve to silhouettes, then to shading, then to the kind of dark that isn't empty but full of quiet promise. A final lamp outside passes, casting a single warm stripe across the carriage floor, then fading like a closing sigh. That stripe lingers behind my eyes even after I close them, glowing ember yielding to hush. Now breath aligns with wheels. Inhale, exhale, click, hush. Small lights drift past the sleeper's window, one by one, until numbers lose meaning. Everything softens, pages, envelopes, raindrops, memories, folding into night's forgiving pocket. Somewhere beyond this motion dawn prepares her gentle resurrection, but she waits, patient, not eager. For now we float, safe cargo of unspoken hopes, wrapped in velvet rain, on tracks that hum lullabies too soft to remember. Rain lingers on the roof, falling slower now, as though considering sleep itself. The train slides onward, its rhythm softened to a long, low murmur that smooths the edges of thought. Outside, hedgerows retreat into mist, their outlines lost among blurred halos of field lamps. I lean back, coat collar grazing cheek, breathing the faint scent of damp wool and cooling tea. The carriage is sparsely lit, bulbs dim to a shy amber that flatters every shadow. Near the window across the aisle, a professor sorts lecture notes into careful stacks, then stops, deciding none of it matters tonight. He removes his glasses, folds them, and stares at nothing, perhaps enjoying the rare grammar of unstructured minutes. His papers remain untidy, pages fluttering whenever the train rounds a curve, like timid birds testing flight. One sheet slips to the floor. He lets it lie, surrendering to gravity's quiet persuasion. Farther down, a pair of siblings play a silent game, tracing spirals on fogged glass with matching fingertips. Their parents nap nearby, foreheads touching, breaths threaded together in easy tandem. Such small trusts populate the night. Two heads leaning, one heart humming, all embraced by wheels that know patience. We roll past an abandoned platform, ivy draped, sign half missing, on bridge halt, the rest reclaimed by rust and weather. Lamp posts there flicker weekly, loyal guardians keeping watch over no arrivals, no departures, only rain. I picture a station master who once polished those lamps, proud of small brightnesses in wide dark. Perhaps his memory lingers, pacing invisible routes, checking clocks that stopped long ago yet still keep perfect midnight. Another curve straightens. The professor's fallen paper skitters, catching under my boot heel. I retrieve it. A list of reading assignments, margins crowded with tiny, urgent stars. He accepts the page with grateful nod, tucks it away and whispers, "There's always more time than we think." The sentiment hangs between us, fragile but warm, like steam curling from cooling mugs. Window reflections crowd the glass. My face, the professor's silhouette, the twins' looping shapes, rain's silver script. Each reflection fades when fields brighten briefly under remote security lights guarding empty barns. I remember childhood journeys where I counted illuminated windows, believing each held wonders equal to mine. That faith returns tonight, softer, less certain, yet still willing to glow. Rain slackens further, turning to a shimmer that sounds like distant applause politely ending. The train answers with a lowered hum, exquisite hush nested inside larger hush. A woman in the next bay threads headphones over one ear, leaving the other free to catch carriage music. From her phone escapes faint jazz, brushes on snare, velvet trumpet sighs, blending seamlessly with rail percussion. She smiles at nothing, foot keeping tempo until the rhythm tires, drifting into gentle diminuendo. Between songs she closes her eyes, mouthing words of a lullaby perhaps taught by someone now far past sleeping. The conductor appears, posture relaxed, hat tilted slightly as though conversation might wake it. He checks no tickets, only glances down the aisle to confirm peace holds steady. When our eyes meet, he lifts 2 fingers in quiet salute, a gesture casual as breathing. Then he advances, shoes whispering across carpet like pages turning themselves. Outside, fields widen, hedgerows thinning into marshland silvered by low clouds. Shallow pools mirror the train's lights, bright commas drifting over dark sentences of water. I imagine frogs hidden in reeds, lulled by distant iron lullaby, dreaming of warm ponds and patient moons. A low bridge sweeps overhead, girders rattle politely, scattering droplets that sparkle in passing headlamps. Moist air seeps through imperfect seals, bringing the scent of river mud and wet stone. It reminds me of evenings spent skipping rocks until dusk wrote its name across skin. I let the memory settle like silt, neither polished nor hidden, simply resting. The professor has dozed off, chin to chest, notes sliding in slow avalanche toward aisle. One twin yawns extravagantly, their spiral drawings merging into soft cloud on glass. A quilt unfolds from a travel bag, parents drape it over them, transforming seats into meadow of flannel. The jazz listener removes her headphones, lays them over her book, allowing silence fuller reign. Without music, carriage sounds bloom. A hinge creaks, coat sleeve rustles, heartbeat sinks to real cadence. Miles continue peeling away, each one lighter than the last, like pages gently torn from an already familiar story. A sign flashes by, white letters on black. Next signal 3 miles. So little warning needed on nights when speed feels optional, urgency politely excused. My pocket watch, rarely wound, rests idle, face clouded by smudged glass. Tonight even time prefers blurred edges. We drift through a cutting where cliffs loom close, rainwater weaving luminous threads down sandstone. The noise changes here, deeper, resonant, as if we travel inside a giant bell just rung. Then open land returns, horizons widening, promise unstated but understood. Someone at carriage rear coughs once, then sighs, the sound already forgetting itself. I close my eyes, count 5 slow breaths, open them to find everything quieter still. Lamp glow dims further, edges feathering, paragraphs of night merging into single soft stanza. Thoughts relinquish grammar, drift toward lull, vowels elongating, consonants dissolving like sugar in tepid tea. Yet a final image lingers. Ahead, another station floats in mist, lights pale as first dawn. Perhaps its name will be Haven Ford or Bomb Crossing or simply Rest. Whether we pause or pass feels irrelevant. The comfort lies in knowing the option exists. The train eases, brakes sighing soft foam, each wheel note spaced wider, slower, gentler. Rain resumes faintly, as though remembering a promise to hush the world. The carriage settles, breathing deepens, a page turns only in dream. I lean my head to glass, feel pulse align with distant sleepers' heartbeats, 2 quiet metronomes keeping kind time. Outside, marsh pools gather starlight unseen till now, tiny lanterns bobbing in ink. Somewhere a heron lifts into darkness, wings slow, purposeful, confident in night's patience. Its unseen flight mirrors our own, silent, steady, guided by faint, unwavering tracks. I let that image close my eyes, wrap mind in feathers of hush. Thoughts flutter once, twice, fold inward. Silence grows, tender, resilient, spanning space between seats, between breaths, between miles. And the train continues, carrying us gently farther into nowhere urgent, where every passing fence post whispers, rest, rest, rest. Rain sketches gentle commas on the pane, easing thoughts into softer shapes. The train hums below, a velvet bass note asking nothing, promising plenty. I fold my scarf into a pillow against the window's cool persuasion. Outside, the countryside drifts past like a half-remembered watercolor, edges running to hush. A lone barn lamp flickers, then steadies, its halo briefly washing the wet field gold. I watch it recede until only darkness remains, patient as an unopened letter. Across the aisle, a nurse in pale scrubs cradles a thermos with both hands. Steam slides up, fogging her glasses. She smiles as though warmed by invisible applause. Her eyelids flutter, the thermos tilts, then she writes it, surrendering inch by inch to drowse. I imagine she's off a night shift, pockets full of whispered thank yous, some joy, some ache. A few rows back, someone edits photos on a flickering tablet, faces bright for a blink. Each image fades before I can read it, like postcards tossed onto water. Rain thickens, droplets fusing, lines turning to tiny rivers racing toward the sill. I choose one silver stream to follow, let it carry stray unease downstream. The wheels find a rhythm, clack, pause, clack, spaced wider now, coaxing breaths to linger. We ease past a small request stop, Ridgemore. No one boards, no one waves. Still, the doors part for a moment of ceremony. A gust of moss-sweet air enters, smelling of pine needles, distant chimneys, distant chants. By habit I picture stepping out, walking Ridgemore's lanes until dawn stains the hedges rose. But imagination closes the doors for me, the carriage tugs me gently onward. The lights dim a fraction, amber settling into honey, honey settling into hush. Seat fabric under my palm feels rough, grounding, a small tether to waking. I let fingers relax, slackening knots invisible until now. Somewhere ahead, an announcement crackles, but the words arrive muffled, blurred by lo-fi rain. The meaning is clear enough, farther, slower, safe. We enter a corridor of trees, branches arching overhead like pews of a leafless chapel. Drops strike the roof in hollow, echoing taps as though prayers tapping to be let out. My mind supplies old hymns learned by osmosis, syllables more hummed than language. The nurse's thermos slips again. This time she steadies it without opening her eyes. Her shoulders soften, body trusting motion to cradle her the rest of the way. I notice a bandage on her wrist, inked with cartoon stars, a child sticker perhaps. The bright decal glows lilies in the dim, a quiet medal of perseverance. Beyond the trees, fields widen, and mist glows silver under distant sodium lamps. Two horses stand nose to nose near a fence, silhouettes quivering in dream. They seem carved from smoke and patience, guardians of a pasture made entirely of sighs. The train slows further, engine dropping to a cat-soft purr. Every sound stretches, vowels elongating, consonants rounding like river stones. A student in the forward bay rehearses lines under her breath. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. She pauses, scribbles, then whispers, too loud, and crosses out half the speech. I admire her devotion to quiet, editing Shakespeare to suit a sleeping carriage. Her penciled words dust the aisle like snow nobody needs to shovel. Rain resumes its steady middle tempo, tap tap tap, neither brisk nor tired. I sense my pulse sinking, each beat heavier, slower, kinder. We skirt a canal. Moonlit water mirrors the train windows, a ghost convoy gliding beside us. 4:30 heartbeats, I watch my own reflection ride that spectral coach, equally unsure which is real. A swallow of tea would anchor me, yet my flask is empty, and that feels correct. Night has its own drafts, mist, silence, distant horn, sipped without lifting a hand. A horn does call now, low and mournful, warning deer off the rail somewhere unseen. Its note drifts back to us woolen, already softened by hedgerows, by miles, by mercy. The student packs her folder, kneads her temples, breathing in threes, exhaling in fives. I silently follow her count, numbers blooming then fading like glowworms. The world outside darkens to near velvet where only rain remains distinguishable. Then quite suddenly lights bloom, a town clinging to a hillside, windows bright as held candles. We sweep above it on a viaduct, looking down into rooms of tiny theater. Some curtains open, some closed, all safe, all turning slowly toward sleep. The nurse stirs, glances out, smiles tired approval at those unknown households. Perhaps she healed one of them earlier, perhaps tomorrow night she will again. We leave the town, its lights soften to a scatter of embers, then dissolve. Darkness returns with a hush that feels deliberate, velvet drawn across a stage. I feel thoughts thinning, outlines fuzzing, edges erasing themselves gently. The conductor drifts through, shoes whispering, stopping only to re-angle the nurse's reading lamp darker. His gesture is permission. Rest now, the timetable can manage without you. Outside, the rain slackens to mist, each droplet now a single far-spaced footstep. Mist hovers above the fields, luminous as breath lit by moon shyly peering through rags of cloud. In that glow, I catch sight of a scarecrow leaning, hat askew, coat shimmering wet. He seems to bow as we pass, partners in vigil, each guarding our own rose of night. The wheels find a broader rhythm, spacing clacks like commas in an ever-slowing sentence. My eyelids drift half-mast. Scenery doubles, then softens, then becomes strokes of charcoal on velvet. I recall a seaside pier years ago, gulls crying, wind whipping salt onto lips. That memory arrives crisp, then mellows, then slides beneath the surface like a shell settling in sand. Words inside me loosen into images, images loosen into pure sensation. Cool glass, cedar and luggage rack will scarf heat. Even regrets shrink to pocket-smooth stones, warm enough to keep, light enough to forget. We approach another forgotten stop, Harbor's End, sign creaking, lantern tilted in eternal welcome. No doors open, our presence alone seems greeting enough. Then onwards, rails humming lower, wheels kissing track in ritual of softer and softer goodnights. The nurse is fully asleep now, thermos empty cradle for her hands. The student's notes slide to floor, Shakespeare satisfied with quiet revision. My reflection fades entirely, glass offering only dark promise of further rest. Rain becomes drizzle, then drift, then memory. The train exhales, I inhale, both of us slowing toward temporary stillness. Somewhere ahead dawn stalks its palette, ashes, rose, pale gold, but waits respectful. For now, only night, only lull, only the glass city of drizzle passing the sleeper's window. Rain whispers in fine threads, weaving silver lattice across the carriage window. The train answers with a muted hum, soft as a cat settling down. Outside, pastures glide by, reduced to Water Street silhouettes and occasional shy lamplight. I rest my forehead on cool glass, feeling vibration slip gently into bone. Each droplet races another, merging, parting, teaching the art of letting go. A low station bell rings far ahead, its tone arriving blurred, half remembered. We do not slow yet, the sound merely dusts the night with promise. Across the aisle, a young father cradles a sleeping toddler, blanket patterned with small moons. His gaze drifts between raindrops and the rise of tiny lungs beneath fabric. Every so often he smiles at nothing, perhaps at the peace he's loaned. 2 seats behind him, a poet scribbles haiku onto spare ticket stubs. He pauses often, listening for syllables inside the axle cadence. Finished stubs pile like pale feathers on his tray, weightless records of passing miles. The carriage lighting dims to buttercream, shadows pooling where elbows meet wood. I breathe in the faint scent of bergamot from someone's forgotten thermos. Outside, a lone farmhouse appears, windows aglow, smoke curling steady from brick chimney. In that moment the whole world feels smaller than one patient hearth. We slip past without pause, leaving the farm to its own kind silence. The father adjusts the blanket, tucking corners the way clouds fold around moon. I think of my own childhood journeys, forehead pressed to glass just so. Back then, every station sign felt like a secret code I might keep. Now signs blur, yet meaning stays. Onward, gently, nothing hurried, everything held. The poet reads one stub, smiles, tears it neatly in half, releasing excess words. Paper halves float to floor, settle like quiet snow that will offend no one. We enter a short tunnel. Rain stops abruptly, replaced by cavernous hush. Walls rush close. Lights flicker, reflections double and vanish before finding names. Within that hush my pulse grows audible, a small drum echoing curiosity. Tunnel ends, rain resumes, greeting roof with soft applause for returning performance. In distance, signal lights blink crimson, then soften to amber, then quiet green. Color washes briefly across passengers' faces, painting them transient saints of travel. I notice the father's eyelids droop. He leans back, trusting momentum to cradle both. The toddler murmurs, thumb finding safety beneath patterned moons, darkness gentle, untouched. A breeze sneaks through imperfect seal, carrying damp earth, wet bark, faint cut hay. It blends with fabric smell, with bergamot, with rust ion tang of rails. I follow that blended scent into memory of late summer storms and screened porches. Lightning then, but not now. Tonight chooses subtler illuminations, softer revelations. The poet clears throat once, whispers a line aloud, barely louder than thought. Rain writes every name softer, he says, then nods as if affirmed. Some sentences exist only to be heard by sleeping air and passing wheels. A conductor appears, footsteps polite, hat tipped, voice tuned to carriage quiet. He checks no tickets. Instead he lifts a fallen blanket corner, tucks it in. His lantern throws concentric circles, then dims again as he moves on. I watch him pause beside each row, ensuring calm has no loose seams. When he reaches the poet, they exchange a silent salute made of slight smiles. The train begins a gentle descent, brakes exhaling silk, speed loosening its grip. Outside, marshland spreads wide, pools mirroring scattered stars that peek through torn cloud. For an instant train lights echo on water, forming a twin procession beneath. I imagine fish startled by passing glow, returning quickly to unlit stillness. The poet caps pen, gathers feather-light stubs, slips them into worn leather wallet. His work done, he leans back, eyelids falling with theater curtain grace. The father finally sleeps too, cheek resting atop child's tousled hair. Their breaths unite, sounding like distant surf meeting very patient sand. Overhead rack holds my small satchel, inside which rests a postcard never addressed. I intended to write earlier, yet words felt sufficient merely traveling inside mind. Perhaps arrival will sharpen intention, perhaps the journey was the message itself. Rain thins to drizzle, each drop separated by contemplative pause, like monk bell strokes. Wheels now click at longer intervals, track joints respectfully yielding to hush. A solitary street lamp appears beside siding, light trembling in drop-swirled halo. Its reflection slips across ceiling, painting brief aurora over dozers' closed eyes. We pass unseen garden allotments, rows invisible, scent of damp soil nonetheless distinct. Inhale, exhale, rhythm steadies, eyelids grow heavier, paragraphs shorter, vowels longer. I promise myself to remember this softness when daylight asks sharper questions. Promise folds inside chest, warm, simple, ready to survive sunrise inquiry. Ahead, our destination's outskirts gather, yet night keeps details blurred, intentions private. The train coaxes one final curve, lanterns along platform flickering like shy fireflies. But we glide through, no stop scheduled, just permission to witness gentle glow. Lanterns extinguish behind us, yet a residue of light lingers in thought. I feel it settle on everyone here, invisible quilt stitched from passing gleams. Rain dwindles further, now mere mist brushing metal, whispering last lullaby refrain. Poet sleeps, father sleeps, child dreams beneath moons, conductor sits near door watchful. I let my own eyes close, trust engine's low hum to chart remainder. World narrows to breath, to faint sway, to tender resonance of steel. In darkness, lantern echo pulses softly, assuring that even when lights fade, we keep glowing.